Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone who's tuning in. My name is Audrey Ross. I'm guest hosting today on Thoughts and Coffee for Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, who is, like probably many of you, attending Manifest in Las Vegas. Big show down there, and lots of talk about technology and supply chains and everything else that's going on in the market. So in her stead, I'm taking on today, and I have a really special guest, Brian Glick, who'll be joining us in a moment. If you are tuning in, please, as per usual, drop us where you are located. So I'm sitting here in Toronto, Canada, which is warming up, actually. Typical Canadian, I'll talk about the weather. But I think all of us in kind of the northeast in Canada, we're seeing a bit of a warm up today, so we're all very happy about that. Let's look at what's coming up for Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we have a couple of events and podcasts. So this is episode 521 is dropped. A conversation, the Women in Supply Chain series, which is one of my favorites, with Ruth Rojas. She gets into her journey, how she got into supply chain, what she's up to right now, and things to look forward to from her side. We also have episode 522, titled Replace Heroics Not Humans with Amazon Web Services. So this gives you kind of a dive into what they're working on and what's coming up for them. I think we also have a LinkedIn Live on February 19th, which is going to be later next week. That's going to be with Loop. And so Sarah has these conversations, these LinkedIn Lives to kind of highlight, different businesses and what they're focused on, what they're interested in. And I think it gives us a good highlight as well for ourselves to kind of pique our interest. And then we have just a couple of the live events, and there's a huge list, but the upcoming kind of where Sarah and the Let's Talk Supply Chain team are going to be. So there's definitely a robust conference season this year in 2026. So we've got Manifest coming up. We've got TPM 26, which Brian and I think will also be attending. We'll talk more about that in the episode. A couple of upcoming webinars, Modex 26, all the kind of major events. And then later into April even, Sarah will be attending Breakbulk with that TPM group as well. On Friday, we can look forward to an episode of TPM Today with Eric Johnson, who got into, kind of a preview, I guess. Maybe there's one more episode before the show. But again, what's coming up with TPM, what's happening in the market, and so you're not going to want to miss that. All right, let's bring Brian Glick up onto the virtual stage as it is. Hi, Brian. Where are you tuning in
Hey,
from?
Audrey. I am tuning in from Germany today.
Oh, okay.
Somewhat dark and dreary Germany today.
A rainy
warm,
afternoon.
but warm, yes.
Okay, yes. Yeah, that's the most important thing to like the Canadians and the Northerners on the call. And so tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what you're interested in right now.
So for those who don't know, I the founder and CEO, a company called Chain.io. We do systems integration, data plumbing, and then we're actually really excited this week, unrelated to me hosting, but we launched a new product this week called Checks, checks.chain.io, and that's for all of you who don't have the IT resources to go do all the fancy AI stuff. You can throw up a spreadsheet and your own business rules, and we automatically process those and find all the problems in your spreadsheets for you. So that was our AI-driven product that we'll talk about a little bit more as we go through the articles. But other than that, we're just busy making everyone's plumbing work inside supply chain.
I love how you get to describe how Chain.io works and what's going on there. Let's dive into, we do have a weekly poll. So every week, Let's Talk Supply Chain does a poll. This week, it's a very AI themed episode because of we have as a guest, of course. But the poll right now is AI is transforming how we work. But it's sort of, this is like a checkpoint of like how much real value are professionals actually seeing. So the choices were, I'm seeing, do you regularly gain meaningful time or cost savings? That's the pitch, right? I'm getting my time back where we're saving money. And so yes, a lot, yes, minimal, no, none, nothing, or other. And so we can see that it's almost like kind of 50-50, 42% at yes, a lot, and lots of time and cost savings. And then some of us, I voted yes, minimal. I'm at, is it meaningful time? Is it noticeable time and cost savings? Or am I sort of, maybe I'm just sort of scratching the surface? What did you think? What was your answer, Brian?
So I voted yes a lot.
Mhm.
I'm using AI all day, every day at this point.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
I'm using it to help me think through product planning decisions.
Okay.
I'm using it to build code again, which I enjoy.
Okay.
So lots and lots of usage, but it's not all about time savings, and it's
Okay.
not all about cost savings either.
Okay.
A lot of it's, sometimes you just need something to like throw ideas against, and it's really
Interesting.
nice to be able to like go into the AI and say, I want you to argue with me and point out where I'm wrong as I'm thinking through a strategic decision. Like, do we build a
Hmm.
new product? I spent a long time, and it's not that I inherently believe that the AI is another person on the other end, but
Yeah.
if you have to justify your thoughts to something and you tell it it needs to be stringent and rational, then it forces you to think a little more clearly. So I've been using it a
Hmm.
lot for that as well.
And it's really pulling. I mean, it can really pull, like if there's a number of, articles and thought leaders and posts already that are available on the
Hmm.
internet kind of discussing these topics or discussing, having an argument, then it really can pull from that and kind of give you that
Yeah,
some
I
sort of
I
tangible feedback.
actually Yeah, this morning I actually took an article that somebody from the Transporian team had written about kind of some product management things they do there, and I was really into the article. And then before I kind of sent it off to my team, though, I threw it into Claude and said, make the counterpoint argument.
Mm,
And it
mhm.
made some really good points that where the author was kind of bringing some biases and kind of
Yeah.
not thinking through kind of some other perspectives on the topic of what makes a good product manager. And then I was able to share with my team both the article and some counterpoints
Mhm.
so that I was a little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
So yes, it can drag you down a hole,
Of
but you can
course.
also kind of be good. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also, yeah, when you can find the right kind of prompt or question to it, I think, yeah, it really does deliver. I think I'm looking forward to some of the I've been testing out some of the things around, help me group my tasks, help me stay on priority, help me be, stay on top of being responsive. I have a job internally where, I get a lot of different departments looking for me. I have a lot of competing priorities. So I'm trying to do it, kind of like that, maybe virtual admin almost piece, and to try and build that, just through email, through meetings, through summaries and things like that. So I'm kind of at that 101 level, but I think it'll be interesting to see, um, when I get to level 201, I guess.
Yeah, and I think be careful about the Instagram effect.
Mhm.
Everyone's posting on LinkedIn about all the amazing things they're doing with AI, and
Mhm.
about 10% of it's true. And if you're
Okay.
getting some benefit, like if you read all day, you're going, I'm not using this
Yeah.
right, or I'm not using it enough.
Yeah.
It's so easy for everyone, and everything
Yeah.
works all the time. It's not
Yeah.
true. It's not
No.
true for anybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think I've seen a lot of people who are just nervous because they feel like it should be doing more. And if it's making
Yeah.
you a little bit better, then just dive into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the first step anyways, and kind of
Yes.
get into it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's jump into, we're going to do market update. Sorry, market update. We can do it maybe twofold. I can talk a little bit about, classic supply chain, what's happening in maritime, and then you can maybe give us an insight on what's happening, sort of more in the kind of technology environment. So I mean, we're not seeing a lot of delays, which is great. We're not seeing a lot of congestion. Sarah and I talked about this. I was on at the beginning of the year. This is a year where we're seeing a bit of a slowdown in some productions, likely kind of a result of the tariffs coming through last year, and people are kind of reshuffling supply chains and people are kind of regrouping in that way. So congestion and volumes have been a bit of a different conversation, especially if you're shipping from Asia and you're heading into, we have Chinese New Year's coming up next week. I am keeping my eye on the Red Sea situation. Luckily, and I say this every time. Luckily, I have Lars Jensen who really keeps an eye on it for us, and I can kind of refer I can refer to his like situational view on what's happening, because that's very helpful for someone who, like, he's outlined the risk of what happens. Now there's kind of been a ceasefire, there's kind of been a stable period. And I think that, the commercial liners are looking to kind of go back through the Suez Canal and use that shorter route from Asia into Europe. And we can all expect that that'll cause a huge amount of congestion. So I'm just keeping my eye on that for when that everyone starts to move on that, because I think, what did he suggest, that you're going to see like 6, 8, 10 weeks of congestion at the European ports as they cope with the kind of influx, and then things will start to shuffle back to normal, or to some sort of regular consistency. But yeah, I think that's it for kind of ocean and what's happening there. Brian, do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts on that? Is that your area?
yeah. I would say the other thing I saw this week was it looks like a pretty early pre-Chinese New Year slump in the rates, and pretty extreme
Yes.
in the US.
Mhm.
So, we'll be very curious to see whether that's just shifted in the window or the
Yeah.
precursor to a much, much more dramatic shift in the rate market.
Hmm.
And it's always interesting timing to have Chinese New Year and then right into TPM, because we'll all be able to report back for everybody kind of what we're hearing about rates kind of on the ground when we're all in Long Beach. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So you and I are both heading out to Long Beach for that conference, which I think is so valuable. Like, they really do such a good job on the content. You can't beat some of that content that you get, and some of the speakers. You're on stage too, aren't you? Are you doing a panel this
I
year?
am on stage,
Yeah.
and talking about data silos,
Okay.
and whether or not the premise that Eric put together for us is, um, our data. We always complain about data silos, but they don't go away. So are they there for a reason? Are they valid?
Mm,
So
mm,
it's really his big theme for the tech track this year is really questioning assumptions. So
uh,
that's going to make for some really interesting content. In fact, either later today or tomorrow on my podcast, Supply Chain Connections, we did a preview episode with Eric. So
nice.
if you want to hear me drop an F bomb on Eric, make sure you listen in. So, because there's definitely an F bomb dropped
Yeah.
in his general
Yeah.
direction in the middle of the episode. So,
Yeah.
but it's really interesting because I got him to
Deserved.
talk a lot about his thought process and how they select panelists and
Mm,
how they build the agenda, and kind of it's a real good kind of behind the scenes dig into, like,
yeah.
how does this stuff really come together, right?
Yeah.
And and
Yeah.
and uh, and it's not based on who pays the money.
Because that's,
So
yeah, that's typically with the
some people
conference.
think it
There's so
is,
much
but it genuinely is not.
sponsorship and, like,
Some
you
shows
know,
it is, some shows it
and
isn't.
some shows it
TPM it
is.
is
Yeah.
not.
Some shows it isn't. It's not. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a diligence, I think, that happens behind the scenes, and kind of that, yeah, that's what they're really good at, right? Is that what outcomes can we leave everyone with, and how can we put this so much information, and kind of, curate it, and find those perspectives that, um not the right perspective, but just the perspective of what's happening and who's kind of doing what. So yeah, I'm joining them for a panel on, small to medium enterprises, or small. I think the U.S. says small medium businesses, SMBs, in the U.S. But yeah, so we have a couple of people kind of from different segments of that, and what SMBs need to know around costs, around finding service providers. Kind of more the, I guess, yeah, 101 level, or kind of, tip sheet, I guess you would say, kind of panel. So it's going to be fun.
Good.
All right, articles. And we're moving quickly because time on Thoughts and Coffee just seems to fly. So our first article we've got coming in from Gartner, so it's with Procurement Magazine, and it's Gartner, humanoid robots are just a supply chain blip. So we've got, a Gartner report talking about how those robots are going to struggle to find a place in supply chain. I think the expectation was, like, they invented them, and now, like, we'll all see them in our supply chain. And this is kind of suggesting that the high costs and maybe a technical immaturity is maybe going to prevent the widespread adoption that maybe was expected, or maybe people thought they would do. And so there's been a lot of hype around robots. I mean, Sarah and I have talked about robots on Thoughts and Coffee a few times, just waiting to see them kind of get into warehouses. Not to say that there aren't maybe kind of robotic tools or automations that are definitely being embedded and deployed, but I think the kind of concept of, maybe the Jetsons, like kind of humanoid robot is kind of lagging. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think for all of these today, I wish I had like an agree and a disagree sign. I
Right.
agree with Gartner on this one. I think that humans are the result of an evolution for the environment we evolved in, which is not a
Right.
warehouse,
No.
right? And if you were going to evolve a being that was going to live inside a warehouse, it would
Mhm.
have a more stable base, and it would probably be taller,
Yeah.
right? And a
Would
lot
be
of
my
other
height.
things, right? It would be, like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a reason people are using flying drones to pick, and there's a reason that people use conveyors to move things, and there's a reason that robots with wheels tend to be doing very well. And humans are evolved to be able to hide from lions and scavenge for food, and that's not what you do in a robot or in a
No.
warehouse. So
No.
I think I don't think if you started a warehouse and you'd never heard of a human, that you would come up with that design for your robot. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it seems like a solution looking for a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, the humanoid robot maybe is a feature, more to make us comfortable, right? To find a form that is sort of made to placate us while we start to experience
I can't think of anything
automation
that would make
or
me less
technology.
comfortable than a humanoid
But then
robot.
then a robot that, yeah. No, I find it disconcerting. And even some of the even when they're fairly sophisticated, you're like, nah, that's disconcerting. I just want, it's like I want the something to be what it is, like, and be different. I'm a human. You can be a robot and you can look like a, weird little robot. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I think too that that's, this conversation is also around, we see sometimes interest and we see kind of leaps forward. But even then, some of the depth and to your point, the actual planning of like, what do I need this for? Like, it looks cool, it sounds fine, it's an advancement, but is it actually necessary for the task at hand? And I think that's where a lot of people kind of are like me. I kind of struggle to be like, well, would I pay $10,000? Like, is this really the best investment, or am I better to wait a couple more years until it's refined? And but yeah, that's late adopter kind of view, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, there's another robotics company out there that I know the founder of, called Slip, and all they do
Mhm.
is robots that help drive pallets onto trucks. Those
Perfect.
robots will never be on the cover of Forbes, and they work, right? They just literally crawl under the product more or less
Yeah,
and
yeah,
drive it onto the truck, so
yeah,
you don't have to floor load your truck.
yeah, yeah.
That's a solved problem, and it looks
That's
nothing
a
like a
solved
human.
problem. I love it. That I might look into. That I
Yes.
might look into. Yeah. All right. Staying on the topic of kind of technology and AI, our next article is coming in from, it looks like ARS Technica, I guess a website, news site. So we've got developers are saying IA coding tools work, and that's precisely what worries them. So the article kind of goes into um, a conversation with several developers on a few on the website Blue Sky, how they feel about tools in practice, and what their kind of thoughts are, and that yes, this technology is working, but they're sort of divided on whether that's entirely good news. It was a small sample size, but it was kind of like, just to our conversation that a lot of AI companies or this Instagram effect of things are being hyped up, the capabilities, and that that in that background or in the evolution of it, yes, that's true. But yeah, it's kind of what is the maybe the endpoint or the parameter that this technology is going to have. What do you
Yeah,
think,
and
Brian?
this is something I have a lot of hands-on experience with, because
Right?
I still write code for our company.
Mhm.
And I will say that all of our developers are using these tools now,
Yeah,
and there's no going back. And
yeah,
I think there are a lot of people out there in, let's say, legacy IT departments inside supply chain companies who may
yeah,
struggle,
Yeah.
with the change management.
Yeah.
But this is real and it works and it does make you more productive. Like it just
Hmm.
does.
Hmm.
And what it means is developers have to level up their game on things other than the hand coding, right? On thinking about
Hmm.
product thinking and quality and architecture and all of these things, like using your brain, not your fingers, is how we say it internally, right? Because the
Interesting.
fingers part, the AI can do.
Yeah, and one of the examples here was they were able to deliver a feature in about 2 weeks that they say probably would have taken them a year if we'd done it kind of the traditional or the usual way,
100%.
right?
I posted a video on Friday because I had a product idea at 5:30 and we had it ready to go at 5:47, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly, for something that
yeah,
would have taken me 2 weeks before.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Because even
so I put that's
it's
on
a
my LinkedIn stream.
yeah,
So,
and it's that energy, right? You know, we have these things on our list, you want to get to them, but it's also the like the overwhelm of like, I know this is going to be helpful. I do want to get this done, but it's going to take me like, I know this is an involved project, and like that kind of time saving or maybe streamlining is very enticing to people to
yep.
access. Yeah. I was going to ask you something else, and I've blanked. I've
Oh,
absolutely
well,
blanked.
that's not good for television,
I
Audrey.
know it's so
No,
terrible for television.
it's
But for
while we're pulling up the next article
yeah.
though, I mean, I will say that we built our entire new product with AI and using AI
Mhm,
inside the product, and
mhm,
it has we would not have built it otherwise.
mhm. Oh, that's what I wanted
Because
to ask
just
you.
the speed and the level of effort.
Yeah.
So,
And but are you inputting some gatekeeping or, I think there's still maybe that's a perceived bias from kind of someone who's on the outside, like an accuracy. Is there sort of a data governance or
oh yeah,
accuracy
so
check on the product?
there is a human review of every line of code.
Okay. Okay.
It's not when we say the AI is doing it,
So it's like a draft.
um, the AI is writing the code while the developer is watching the screen, and
Okay.
then a second developer, which we've always done,
Yeah.
reviews the code before it goes to production. And really, the
Right.
developer's job is to make sure that what the AI is writing is secure and responsible. And the
Mm,
AI handles the like if X then Y stuff,
right.
right? It handles the
Right.
mechanical, and the human is still
Right.
doing the security and the are we writing something that's sustainable as a
Mm,
product, which because a lot of these things that people are spinning up on the weekends will not
yeah.
work in a year, right?
Right.
They're not
Right.
going to think about like multilingual capabilities
Hmm.
or like some you have to explain to the AI sometimes, yeah, I know we're writing this thing for trucking, but it's got to work for ocean too. And this is, like some things you need to
The
think
next
about.
step.
So
Yeah.
it's not
The future.
the AI is not ready to be set free on its own.
Right.
Um, but it does do a lot of the mechanical work,
Yeah.
right?
Because I
Like the
think that's what
difference between
people.
going from a typewriter to a word processor, right? Like you still got to know the words you want, but it makes it a
Yeah.
lot faster to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's key too as well. People recognizing that there is a company who is using this very effectively, has that kind of those parameters or that processor system to kind of verify, check, and then also to your point, the future forward, right? Like I've built
Yeah,
this for this moment, and I also need to think of, but what's next, right? That's the
yes,
entrepreneur, right? What's next? What's coming for the future? Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Last article. It just moves so quickly. But I think a favorite for you. So, Scottish Distillery wants to bottle whiskey in aluminum, not glass. Are we dropping another F bomb or are we celebrating the innovation? What are we doing here?
I'm gonna celebrate the innovation if they can get it right.
Right.
So in the article, they talk about they haven't quite nailed
Mm-hmm.
the fact that alcohol is very caustic, and they're not quite
Yeah.
sure how to get it like the linings right in the bottles.
Yeah.
Um, but assuming they get it, the biggest argument for this is it's much more ecological,
Yeah.
right? It's the first thing people think about is making glass is very energy intensive and a heavy pollutant material. But then the other thing mentioned in the article, and I think where it applies to all of us, transport cost, right? Shipping a
Yeah.
lot of heavy glass around, and a lot of special handling needed, and none of that happens if it's an aluminum bottle.
Yeah.
So as a supply chain nerd, like as a whiskey nerd, I'll let you know. As a supply chain nerd, big fan.
I think it's great too because the article really does go into some of the science of it. And I mean, I work in a field of kind of skincare and cosmetics as well, and this kind of background chemical composition and examination of compatibility in the components and in the vessel that it's being carried in is very fascinating. And they went into kind of all of the ways that they do that in the article, which for some of us is very interesting. But yeah, I think the overall view of taking, what was classically, a classic container and kind of disrupting that space and then looking to like, what could be more sustainable or better, more effective material is always a fascinating conversation as well. So,
And
yeah.
it will make a lot of people very upset, I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah. No, it's also got that rage bait
And that's my
controversial
favorite thing to do.
factor
So
yeah. Yeah, it definitely, that disruptive sense of like, I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm used to, I always drink, and then you'll probably get a core group who are like just collecting glass bottles for the next 100 years. Um, just being true purists about their beverage. So yeah. Yeah, that kind of takes us to the end. Give me a last thought, Brian, on something that you're looking forward to kind of in 2026 or what's kind of on the horizon for you or for the business.
yeah, I think it's super exciting. We just had our 9th birthday, so we
Wow,
feel a little grown up
congratulations.
this year, and which means I've been working on it for 10 years,
Yes.
which means second longest job I've ever had in my life. And
Wow.
so what we're really looking forward to this year, both as a company and me personally, is kind of taking a bunch of AI innovations that we made last year, including this new product, including some things we're working on with some really, really big forwarders to like improve the customer service of their biggest customers. And we built all this last year, and now evolving it and maturing it, because
Right.
there's innovation cycles and then there's maturation cycles. And so
Right.
we're kind of moving into that maturing phase, at least for us, which I think may put us a step ahead of some people who are just starting to get their toes wet. But
Mhm.
that's actually where the fun happens, because that's when people start using the things and seeing the benefits, and that's really exciting
Yeah.
to me, because
Yeah.
building in a vacuum is pointless, right? People have to use
Yeah.
it.
You want that feedback. You want that, kind of, information and conversation about the product.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Brian, thanks so much for joining me today. I always feel like, I mean, we know each other, so it's like such an easygoing conversation. I could probably do this for like hours and hours. Thanks to everyone else for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. You can catch the replay on YouTube and following Let's Talk Supply Chain, the very organized. I've got a playlist for you. A shout out to everyone who tuned in. I saw a couple of people drop. We've got Larry, one of our friends in Toronto. We have Susan turning in from Orlando, and then we had Shai Jask turning in from Saudi Arabia, looks like. So kind of this widely global audience, which I love to see. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Brian. Thanks to Let's Talk Supply Chain, and everyone enjoy the rest of your week.